Chapter 23, The Rippin and the Tearin. I drove in the dark through the Florida countryside back to Titusville. I stayed at Liam's house that night. Liam and I shot drugs, and I explained my day with Sarah. The next morning, I left Florida. I took A1A north and recorded videos of the scenery on the coast. St. Augustine was beautiful. The majestic old buildings, the ornate homes, the ocean, I loved it all. I had a plan, but I had time to stop as I made my way up the East Coast. My first stop was in Savannah, Georgia. In the summer of 2018, months before that Thanksgiving when my friend Michaela took care of me when I overdosed on heroin, I first met Michaela's girlfriend. Her name was Allison. Allison looked a lot like Michaela, only Allison was white. Michaela and Allison were trapping out of a hotel room in Toledo. I picked them up and took them back to Michaela's grandma's house so they could get a few more outfits. I dropped the two of them off again at the hotel across town once they were satisfied that they had enough clothes to get through the night. I agreed to pick them up at checkout in the morning. Allison first tried crystal at my house that next morning. The remainder of the day was based around intimacy. The two girls began in my living room. I was then invited to join in. The three of us made our way back to my bedroom. 4 hours later, I tapped out. I got dressed and I walked back out to my living room. The two girls dressed as well. Once the girls sat down on a couch in the living room, their clothes came off again, and they were back at it. Of all the videos I recorded that day, my favorite was one of me walking by my couch while fully clothed, shaking my head at the stamina of the two girls still pleasing each other on the couch. By 2019, Allison had been living in Savannah, Georgia for half a year. She invited me to stay a night with her when I left Liam's house in Titusville. I drove north along the Florida coast to Georgia. I pulled into Allison's townhouse complex at 2 o'clock on a sunny and hot afternoon. Allison and I caught up. We ate food and did hot rails in Allison's dining room. Allison showed me around some of the city. I spent time with her in her backyard, and I met her boyfriend when he arrived home from work. I was exhausted from driving after yet another extended period of time with no sleep. Allison showed me to the guest bedroom. I slept better that night than I had in a long time. The next morning, feeling refreshed, I continued my drive north along the coast. I had another stop to make before I reached my final destination. While I had been staying in Miami with Zoe, I began a dynamic with a girl who lived in Wilmington, North Carolina. She was a 19-year-old black girl I had met on an app on my phone. She was kind and shy and a pleasure to interact with. The two of us hit it off from the start, and I told her I would love to see her when I left Florida. We texted, we talked on the phone, and we video called each other. The girl's demeanor warmed my heart. She was the person I wished to hold in my arms and keep safe. I kept her updated with each stop on my trip to her from Florida. It was dark outside that evening after I left the house in Virginia. Hours went by as I drove. I pulled into Wilmington. It was late enough at night that I was the only car on the road. Zaya talked me through the city to her neighborhood. I parked on the side of the street and made sure she had room to sit in my car full of my belongings. A few moments later, she walked up and got in. I took Zaya to a hotel for the night after we picked up food. I told her that, besides doing my laundry at the hotel, I was completely hers for the time we were together. We kissed, we undressed one another. Zaya shyly told me what she wanted me to do to her. We shared intimacy. The previous autumn, intimacy with Jay had become the first and second time that I had finished from anything other than my own hand during the entire 2018 year. After those 2 times, there had been just 2 other times where I climaxed literally at the hands of another. Intimacy with Zaya that night in North Carolina in 2019 gave me just the 5th time which my hand hadn't caused since 2017. After all that time and after all that activity which had taken place back to and before when I first found internet meeting sites, and from finding notoriety on that first website, Zaya had done what had only occurred 4 other times up to that point. I held Zaya close to me as she drifted to sleep once we ceased our interaction. I cuddled with her and stroked her shoulder softly with my hand. Periodically, I kissed the top of her head. With her head on my chest, she slept the rest of the night in my arms. I got up only to switch over my laundry. I brought Zaya breakfast in the morning, and I felt genuine sadness as I dropped her back off at her house. Before she stepped away from my car, Zaya and I agreed that there was more for us in the future. 2 days before Halloween in 2019, I drove my way back to Ohio. It was close to midnight when I finally made it through all the construction and lane closures on the Ohio Turnpike, just west of Cleveland. I was back on my least favorite stretch of road. The amount of orange construction barrels and closed lanes that particular night only added to my annoyance. I continued a full half hour beyond the last visible orange sign before I felt relief. The construction was finally behind me. On my very next breath, one of my tires blew out. My white knuckles gripped the shaking steering wheel tightly. My speed began to drop, but I had to continue driving in the lane I was in for a moment longer. I was on a bridge without a shoulder. When I was finally able to stop, I was between the cement barricade of the bridge and a hill which dropped off into a ditch. The police showed up and set up flares behind my car. An officer managed to reach a tow truck company and the driver he knew personally. I had to wait an hour and a half on the left side of the road for the wrecker to show up, but I received a discount for the 20-mile tow to the parking lot of an unopened Walmart. After the tow truck disappeared into the night, I took it upon myself to change my tire in the parking lot. I chose to drive on the donut instead of waiting for the service shop to open 6 hours later. The lug nuts were rusted on, and I got a serious workout changing that tire. That process took me 2 hours longer than it should have. I took a break from driving at an Ohio Turnpike rest stop just east of Perrysburg. I did drugs as I sat in a parking space with a police cruiser behind me and another 3 spaces to my right. I was completely spent, and I didn't give the situation a second thought. It worked out, though. Nobody looks for someone in plain sight. Around mid-morning, I left the rest stop and went to the tire shop in Perrysburg. I had to buy 2 new tires because another tire's tread was worn down to nothing. After waiting for the tires, I left and drove to my storage unit. I unloaded my belongings from my car, except the few bags I kept with me on my travels. I then drove to Michigan, to my friend Steve's house in Tecumseh. I made it the hour drive to Tecumseh and pulled into a gas station. I got gas and my car refused to start. I tried everything. I checked all the parts I could. I looked up possible issues online. I talked to any mechanic I knew. Nothing. My car was completely dead. The owner of the gas station happened to be out by the gas pumps talking with a customer on the other side of the pumps. He noticed I was stuck. "I need you to not block the pumps." "Well, my car won't start." The owner helped me push my car across the parking lot to a parking space. I took the bags from my car and I walked the mile to Steve's house with 2 suitcases and 2 backpacks. I was exhausted when I reached the house. I collapsed inside on a bed. I checked on my car throughout the weekend. It remained in the parking space at the gas station. When Monday morning came, my friend Amber picked me up from Steve's house. She had AAA and she offered to have my car towed the hour and a half to Dan's house in Lansing. Amber and I approached the gas station. My car was no longer there. I walked into the gas station. The owner of the gas station was present, but I didn't see him right away. I was too busy aggressively questioning the worker behind the register. The owner came up to the front of the store. I couldn't believe my car was gone. It had sat there all weekend without issue. "Where is it?" "It wasn't us, I promise. Come with me." The owner led me to the side of the building. He pointed to a sign on the fence. "Unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense." "Try that phone number. They must have gotten it overnight." "Thanks." I walked back to Amber's car and called the number. Sure enough, my car was towed to a tow yard 30 minutes west of Tecumseh. I was mad, and I vented my frustrations to Amber as she drove me through the Michigan countryside. "That'll cost you $250. "Are you kidding me? You shouldn't have towed my car." "Well, why were you parked there?" "My car broke down." After I mentioned my car had broken down, the animosity in the clerk's voice dialed back a notch. I filled out the paperwork and handed over a stack of money. I let the lady know it was going to be a minute before the tow truck showed up to tow my broken car from the auto yard. I thanked the lady for taking my ransom money, and I went back outside to wait for the tow truck with my friend Amber. 3 hours passed from the time Amber called the tow truck until my car came down off the flatbed in Dan's backyard in Lansing. I was still annoyed with the situation. Dan and I went inside and I tossed down a large quantity of crystal onto my tray. We're about to set some hot rail records. I tasked Dan with the car repair job. He accepted the challenge. Little did I know, I was in for much more than I bargained. I ordered parts, a fuel pump, some gaskets, a starter, some sensors. The cost accumulated quickly. My car sat immobile. I ordered more gaskets. I bought another battery. I tried replacing a different pair of sensors. My car refused to run. I spent 2 weeks as a prisoner at Dan's house without a car. Part of me was fairly certain Dan had planned that situation. I supplied drugs daily. I ordered food daily. Dan came and went as he pleased while I was sequestered at the house. I had a feeling something was off. The more the time went by, the more frustrated I became with the whole ordeal. Dan assured me that he was doing all he could to get the car up and running. I was paying Dan in drugs for the labor hours he put into the car, yet I wasn't seeing any results. I began to notice late-night trips outside to the car. I would see other vehicles pull up and pull away within a couple minutes. I was curious if my car was being parted out under my nose.